Hi, I'm Diane Dayton, backstage at Berks, the 34th annual Boscov Berks Jazz Fest, right here in Reading, Pennsylvania. We just heard the fabulous string queens, and here they are. Boy, you were received so well, and it just touched all of our hearts in a way that I think we're going to remember lasting. So why don't you each introduce yourself and what instrument you play?
Okay. Kendall Isidore, violin. Elise Sharp, cello. Dawn Johnson, viola.
Oh, wow. So how did you come together?
We met in a few different ways. So Dawn and Elise were the first to meet one another. They met through a symphony that was based in Baltimore called Soulful Symphony. And so Dawn was actually a Juilliard student commuting from New York to Baltimore anytime the symphony had a concert. And so these two were the first chairs of their section, sitting very close to one another in the symphony setting. But not only admired one another's playing, but also just started to become friends and started to just form a relationship and a bond. But then I didn't know Elise, so Elise and I met in DC on the jazz gig scene. So folks would call us together and say, hey, Kendall, you're gonna be playing with a cellist. I know you don't know who she is, but just be ready to improvise and go. That's how I met Elise. And so they would call us both kind of anonymously and just go. And so I met her and we had a great time on the gig, and then it was time for Dawn and I to meet. We met through her husband. So her husband is also an educator, so we're all educators obviously, but her husband is an English teacher. And he was an English teacher 2 doors down from me. I was teaching science. And during our planning period one day, I guess I had a disgruntled look on my face, and he goes, Kendall, Kenny, what's going on with your face? Are you okay? And I'm like, I wish I could find a violist for this wedding gig that I have coming up. I was putting together a quartet. He goes, my wife plays viola. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, right, Brian. Like, yeah, next. Like, I'm really getting serious. Like, I need a violist. And he goes, no, seriously, she went to Juilliard. She lives here. Give her a call. And I said, oh, Juilliard. I'm going to call her immediately. Gave her a call. We carpooled to the gig. Got to know one another. Yeah. Played the gig. Played classical. It was a classical gig. It wasn't even the music that we played today. So we formed a bond, and then Dawn, I don't know if you want to take over the first time we played together.
I had the wedding gig, the next wedding gig, and so I needed a violinist and a cellist. Kendall and Elise were 2 of the first people who I thought of and called them and said, hey guys, let's play this wedding together. But we've never played together, and so we need to rehearse. I'm a mom of 2 small children, and at the time, my oldest daughter, was turning 1. And so I said, hey, let's meet at my daughter's first birthday party. I'll make binders full of sheet music. We'll come out, we'll read some music at the party. It was children's music, like Sesame Street and Little Einsteins and Twinkle Twinkle. But we were having so much fun as girlfriends and just, people hanging out together that we never played a note. We never opened our cases. We never played any of the music. And we showed up to the wedding the next day, and it was just magical. We had some of the same musical nuances, and we felt music in the same way. And, all of the things that had been frowned upon in our traditional classical training, we all did intuitively and naturally. And so we knew that we had found our tribe. We knew we found our people that we wanted to perform with.
Wow. So how long have you been performing together as the string queens?
In June, it'll be 8 years.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, you just performed here at Berks, and everybody was just mesmerized. Now, you do have a CD. If anybody's watching this, you're going to be bringing it down.
Yeah, we have 3 albums, actually. Okay. We have our latest release, which is a full-length album titled Rise. We have 2 EPs. We have a holiday EP titled Our Favorite Things, and then we have a self-titled EP, which was our debut project.
Okay. You're based out of D.C., is that right? Okay. You've played Carnegie Hall. You've also played with people like Whitney Houston and Aretha Franklin, right? All right. Yeah, so you've gotten around. What I love what you do is you take songs of your life and put your twist and your arrangements on that. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we love soulful music, and I think when Dawn called us together to play that gig, even though it was classical music, we kept noticing that there was a soulful element behind the sound, behind the spirit of the group. And so we said, why don't we just endeavor to play music that we grew up on, music that we, on the car rides to school, on the way to church, when you're cleaning up, doing your chores on Saturday mornings. And that music didn't really exist in written form. As we decided, okay, we want to play this and then this. When we went to look for it in the musical libraries, it didn't exist. And so where it didn't exist, we had to create it, which is what everybody heard today.
Wow. Well, I think you're on a mission. And I think part of that mission is to bring people together in a good way, positive, and lift them up. Do you want to add anything to that?
mission statement.
Yeah, our mission, literally our mission statement is to create musical experiences that inspire diverse audiences to love, to hope, to feel, and imagine. And there's so much positivity and there's so much affirming language in our mission statement. There's also so much connectedness between people across race, across cultures, across professions, whatever it is. Music is something that really brings people together and unites us all. And it's something that we really value. And especially as educators, we have to teach these lessons to young people because they are going to be the future leaders of society. And if they're not loving, if they're not hopeful, if they're not inspired, then what are we doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up and send you down to see people who are waiting to see you?
I just thank you to the Berks Jazz Fest and all the amazing people of Reading and Philadelphia, the surrounding areas, and we hope to be back.
Yeah, we hope you come back too. Oh, how can we find out about you? How do we follow you? Tell me about that before we go.
It's at The String Queens on all social media platforms. And then we also have a website, thestringqueens.com. So our event schedule, our concert schedule is on there. We're getting ready to head out on the West Coast tour next week for 2 weeks. So a lot of stuff coming up.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
It was such a pleasure to hear you and even more a pleasure to talk and find out about your hearts.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you.